Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Rapido Live. Today or tonight, we're going to be here with Dougie Childers. Dougie had the privilege of working with Billy James and his Kelsos. So tonight, I figured we would have Dougie on and talk chicken. How you doing, Dougie?
I'm doing good. How about you?
If I was any better, I'd be twins.
Man, it's hot enough, ain't it?
Look, I'm going to tell you today. So I don't like to wear a jacket a whole lot. And I mean, in Alabama, you really don't have to a whole lot. I wear a vest. So, I put a Carhartt vest on, got out, got in the truck. Everything was fine. And it didn't really hit me until I got to where I was going and I got out and I'm like, my God, it was 60 degrees when I went to bed. It's
Yep,
30.
yep. It got cold. This wind here, I live on the river,
Mm-hmm.
and it blows. The back of my house faces the north, so it blows all the way across that water before I get it. And it'll be 5 degrees, 10 degrees colder here than if I just go up the road a mile. I'd start taking clothes off that I had to have down here.
I mean, you get in like in the valleys and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It's it at one point today. Well, actually, several times it was snowing, and I
yeah,
mean we haven't seen snow this far south in years.
yeah. You're 100 miles further south than I am.
Yeah. Let's see. We've got a couple people. Our friend Corey Wright, he's up in Tennessee, says hello. Michael says hello. Let's see, Ray. I like Ray. He's a nice guy out from Apple Valley, California.
Right.
We got some stuff we're going to work on for him. Let's see. Frank says he's glad to see you got Doug's mic working. Hey, you know what? It took some effort,
You got
but
that right. It took my son to get it to work, and it was so simple. It was just a button I needed to push. It was right there in front of me, but I'm too dumb to do it. I don't know nothing about this stuff.
look, I'm gonna tell you. Sometimes it's the simplest things that really screw us up the most.
Yeah, you'll
Um,
over. Everybody does the big stuff. I don't care what you're doing, whether it's chickens, dogs, anything to do with in, anything you do. Everybody will do the big things. It's them little bitty things that make the difference. All them guys that do the little bitty things, they're the ones usually at the end of the day are coming out on top.
man, the
'Cause,
fine details. That's
yeah, and
yeah.
it works in everything like that. Whether it's breeding chickens, breeding dogs, it's just. But I'm gonna tell everybody how I got started in all this. When I was about 12 years old, I was at a buddy of mine's house. I didn't know what a game chicken was. And he had got some. And I wasn't really that fascinated with them till his daddy took two. He had these round pens. I guess everybody's had a round pen, especially if they go back to the 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
But but he put them closer together, and them roosters' hack feathers on their neck flared out. You know how they'll flare out at each other.
Look, I love seeing that.
Hey,
Them hackles pop out.
when they did that,
Mm.
I was hooked.
Yeah.
Of course, my buddy, whatever he had back in, if he got something, I had to get it. That's just the way it was.
That's the way. Yeah, that's the way it is.
And he is the one that actually he got me started in all this. And What was funny is me and him both like Billy Kelso. That that was the chicken of choice for us. We just something about them. I don't know what it was that we just liked them,
Mm-hmm.
and we still like. I mean, he's a guy I told you passed away this past summer,
Right.
and his daughter let me have his Kelso chickens. I had gave him a rooster and hen that had actually come off Billy's yard. A boy named Noah Rickard had got them for Billy, and I got them from Noah. And I wasn't really planning on getting back in the chicken business when I got them. I knew they come from Billy, and I'd always liked them, and I just wanted them. So I got them, and I kind of let Philip go. He said, "Man, you ought to let me have them. You ought to let me have them." I said, "Well, heck, come down here and get them. You can have them." Because I wasn't going to do, I was just got them for what they were.
Right.
And he come got them, and he kept them. That's probably been 6 or 8 years ago. He kept them all this time. And when he passed away, I got the cock and the hen uh, back. His daughter let me have them back, and I got two other cocks he had raised out of them, and I got two hens. But anyway, I'll talk about that later because I want to tell how I got back in. That's kind of how I got back started in this again. But back in the 60s, around 1965, we'll just say middle 60s, Billy and Bruce, they run a show, and it was up at his brother's house. His brother was named Bruce, and him and
Mm-hmm.
Billy both had chickens.
Right.
Well, they Cecil Davis was there one night. There was two boys that lived not that's probably 20 miles from me in a town called Spring Valley. And they had told Mr. Davis to bring them two hens. They wanted to buy them. And at that time, Cecil was raising chickens for Walter Kelso.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So he brings the two hens. Well, them boys didn't have the money to buy them. So Billy and Bruce bought them. They had Walter Kelso's wing bands in them.
Right.
Well, Billy kept trying to get a rooster from Johnny Jumper, or him and Bruce together tried to get it, and Jumper wouldn't let him have one. So, in a year or so, a guy named Ray Price, the country music singer,
Mm-hmm.
he bought into Jumper's chickens. In other words, him and Jumper got to be partners. And that's where the name PJ Game Farm come from. It was Price and Jumper. I didn't know for years that's what it stood for. I just figured it out a few years ago. That's what it meant. But anyway, they were uh, they were at a show one day, and he asked Billy. This is Ray Price talking. He said, "Billy said, did y'all ever get one of them Kelso roosters?" And they always called Jumper Johnny Faye. I don't know why they call it, but that's if you heard Billy, that's what he always called him. And he said, no, said Johnny won't let us have one of them. He said, well, we got two shows down here today. And he said, if y'all see one you like, pick it out, you can have it. So they watched them all day, and they picked out one they liked, and Price let them have it. And that's where they started.
Man.
Well, Billy also got some Kelsos. Let me look here. I wrote his name down. A guy named Charlie Hudson from down in South Alabama. That's where Billy got his Hatch chickens from. He had some McLean Hatch.
Yep.
And when he brought them to Billy, he brought him some Kelsos, and Billy called them pea heads. Uh, and when I started going up there, which was in like 1979, most of them Kelsos were straight comb chickens, and they were kind of wide back and about medium station.
Right.
Of course, I quit messing with chickens in high school. Went girl crazy, and uh, when I started back was in 1983, I believe it was. I'd started hunting with this guy, and he had some chickens running around the yard. I said, "Man, let's pin them up. We'll take them to a show." So we started building pens and doing this and that, and got to going out to Billy's, and first one thing and another. But if you go to Billy's, if you wanted, like say you wanted a trio of them Kelsos, usually what he'd do is he'd give you an out and out rooster and pea head hens, or a pea head rooster and out hens. And that's just kind of the way of course, he kept them separate. The pea heads was maybe a little faster than the out and outs were. But like I say, when I first started going there, they was all kind of a straight comb chicken, spur chicken.
Right.
Well, you go into the 90s, and Billy had bred them things a lot toward the pecan side. He never did breed to the straight comb side, much anyway. And he had them coming taller, a little bit taller, and they were pecan, real dark red. They looked like a cobra. They had the way they were built. Their neck came out, and it was tight to their body. They were real tight feathered chickens.
Yeah.
And he all the way till he died. That's kind of how they are now. But they started out as a straight comb chicken. He'd get some. I remember one year when I first started going out there, he had a stag. This rooster was solid red as a stag. When he molted, he was solid white. Now, you know how you hear all this about this is in the Kelsos and that's in the ever how Mr. Kelso bred them. But he had a solid white rooster, and he bred him. Man, I went up there the next year. He had spangled chickens all over that place.
I bet.
Like I say, when I first started going there, the Hatch and the Kelsos was about all he raised. He didn't. Now later on, Billy got some pumpkin chickens and some white chickens. He used to tell me, he'd say, "I think when I get older, I just like different colors." He said, "I've raised these others so long, I just wanted something different on the yard.
Something different to look at.
Him and Bruce, one time they raised 11 roosters and won 72 times with them 11 roosters.
That's a lot of shows to win with 11 roosters.
and they were hatch clarets.
Okay.
And Bruce told me a story one time. He said the guy Herman Pinion that had the yellow-legged hatch, he came to get some chickens. He had called Bruce, and he wanted some chickens, and he came at night. Bruce said he got there like 2 o'clock in the morning because I think he lived in Missouri or somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he comes to get them, and they go out there catching them. And Bruce caught their brood cock, whether it was a hatch or a claret, I can't remember. But whatever it was, they caught it, and he sold it to Herman Pinion because he messed up and got it out of the wrong pen, got confused what he was getting. And Billy told me that they tried breeding them things every which way you could breed them to get them to come back like they were, and they never could do it. That one rooster and one hen threw them 11 chickens. They were all in one batch too. They were like hatched all at the same time. I think it was 11 roosters in that, like maybe 11 roosters and a hen that they raised, but they were all in that one clutch of chicks.
Daggone.
One year they won 17 out of 22 derbies. They
I can see how they'd want to repeat that because that's
yeah, well, I
pretty
don't
good.
know if they were. I think they had the Kelsos then when they won all them derbies. But Billy told me himself. Now I've heard different stories about this, but I know at one time he had won over 500 derbies in his lifetime, and now he never did go off anywhere like Louisiana. Well, he went to milk dairy at Louisiana one time or twice, and won down there. And at one time, they just dominated this area. After they got those Hatch and the Kelsos, I mean, it was unreal. Well, Bruce told me one time he used to get mad. He said, didn't nobody have no good chickens till Billy started selling them. He said, man, we used to whoop everybody. And he said, I know I went to a derby one time at Vienna, and there was like 50 entries there, and like 35 of them had Billy's chickens. Boy, he'd get mad. He said, Bruce would. Billy didn't. Because Billy
I
was the
mean,
kind of guy.
to me, if that happened, that would, as Billy, that would be an honor to me. And when you all have the same chickens, it's more of a competition of men than it
Yeah,
is of chicken
yeah, it's
because
usually
it's
the
how
best
did you
feeder.
do? Yep. How did you do with your feed? How did you do with your keep?
Yep.
How much time and effort do you put into that bird? Because a lot of people, think, oh, well, I got this bloodline. I don't have to do anything. I'll just pick it up off the cord and take it. Well, that's going to work for a generation, but those breeders took years and years and years to get them birds the way they are. And if you don't continue to work with them, it's not going to happen. They'll lose it sooner or later.
You know what was crazy? Billy, his keep, he had some fly pins.
Mm-hmm.
And he had these fly pins back in the 60s, back when a lot of people didn't have fly pins. That was when they, put them in a keep box and worked them and done all kind of different. But if anybody ever saw how he went through a keep or what he called a keep, he didn't do nothing special to them chickens. I mean, he just fed them whatever he was feeding on the yard, and that changed at times. When he took one down there, he had most likely got it empty,
Mm-hmm.
but he didn't do nothing. You was just seeing all chicken. There wasn't no. He didn't do a whole lot to help one. What I'm saying, and that worked for him all the way up till he died. He was still winning when he died. I mean, and he was like 85, 86 years old. He was still breeding and feeding his own chickens all the way till he died. He had kept them chickens. He's had them Kelsos for it was probably 60 years, 55, 60 years. I don't know exactly, but there's nothing fancy about them. They don't now they'll break high, but they try to stay on top, and when they hit one, he's hurt. There ain't no. They're real, extremely good cutters. Their jumper took one. Well, they're not really that. A lot of times, you better cutting chickens. It's more of a swish swish kind of a.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They just cut real deep, and they were just. I've seen a pair one time. I want to stay on the ground, one go up in the air, and the one on the ground run out from under him, and well, one of them Kelsos went up in the air, and that rooster didn't go. He was going to slide over, and let him hit and all that. Well, he didn't expect it, but when that Kelso got up in the air and seen that rooster didn't go up, he turned in the air, and it was like a hawk lighting on the chicken. He lit on his back, and their heads was facing the same direction, and he had finished him right there. That was the end of
That's
it.
all. That's all it took right there.
Yeah, they just had a style. They was kind of fluid motion, I guess what you'd call it. But old Jumper took one to the Philippines. Billy told me, said he used to come up there and get them, and he was probably getting the pecan ones because Billy said he always liked the little football bodies, on them.
Yeah.
And they went over there to the World Championship they have over
Mm-hmm.
there. And Billy didn't have a phone. Bruce had a phone. Billy didn't have one. So he called Bruce at like 2 o'clock in the morning here, and he was telling him about that rooster. The most money that had ever been bet at that place or in the Philippines or whatever it was bet on that fight. They
What year was that?
sometime I'm gonna say the mid to early 70s.
I
And
wonder
when
how
it
much it
happened,
was.
I don't know. It would have been I think they're dollars and pesos.
Yeah, they
I'm
do
not sure.
pesos. They have pesos over there.
And whatever it was, that was the most. And the Kelso got a tail feather cut out. And Jumper told him that one of them Filipinos glued that feather back in place
Hmm.
and said you couldn't even tell nothing had ever happened. But said that's all that was wrong with him was that tail feather had got cut.
Michael said it was 1964 when he thinks it was.
Okay, it could have been. I don't.
Either way, it was a long time ago, and
Yeah.
1964 or 1970, either one, that's still a lot of money.
Yeah, whatever. I'm sure all that's been broke now, but at one time that was one of the stories Billy would. It's weird. Uh, for years, if you wanted to talk to Billy, you had to go see him because he didn't have a phone. I asked him why he didn't ever get a phone. He said, I don't want people bothering me. Because he'd get up in the morning like at 8 o'clock. He had all them chickens anywhere from 100 to 150 roosters. He had an apple orchard. He had cows. And he had a big garden. I'm talking about a huge garden.
Mm-hmm.
And he took care of that all by himself. His wife didn't even have driver's license. She didn't drive, which that wasn't unusual. My grandmother didn't drive till she was in her 40s, I guess. But he'd do like he'd get up in the morning or go grocery shopping. He worked 4 to 12, worked 4 to 12 evening shift out at Reynolds, and he'd try to feed every day around 12 o'clock. And that's the way he did in the keep and everything. He only fed one time a day. He never fed none. Never had a feed cup or none of that stuff. He just tossed it on the ground to him. He when he fed that last day at Friday, he had some little keep boxes out there. He'd feed them, and when they got through eating, he would put them in them keep boxes, and then go to work. And the next morning, he'd get up and get them out, carry them to the Derby. It was it was kind of weird the way. Well, it wasn't weird. It was just different the way he did it. It was kind of like it ain't broke, so I ain't fixing it. You know what I'm saying?
There ain't no point in it.
It worked for him, and it he was just real good at it. You know, I was looking on one of them groups today on Facebook, and people were talking about paying this for a rooster, and it was too much, and all this. Something about chickens, everybody needs to understand. If you ain't getting your chickens from somebody that's honest, then you don't know what you're getting. I mean,
That's right.
you gotta have somebody, and that was Billy. He was honest about everything. No buying and selling fights, none of that kind of junk. That just wasn't in his. He just, and you had to be honest with him. Uh, he, that's just the kind of person he was. Everybody that ever met him loved him. I mean, I saw, I might not ought to tell this, but we was at a derby at Vina one time, and this young guy, told him that he'd made a bet with him. Billy told him, said, I didn't make no bet with you. And that boy told him again, said, no, said, you lost that bet. And I wasn't right there when it happened. I just talked to some guys that seen it. Had been talking to Billy that day, but he was drinking a Pepsi. And he's one of them people, him and his brother took it really personal if you called him a liar. And that's kind of what that boy was doing.
Yeah, you don't do that.
And that second time he said that to Billy, he hit him in the face with that Pepsi. He's about 70 something years old when this happened.
And you know, at that age, you don't really care.
No, he didn't. He didn't. And what was crazy is the boy went outside, and his buddies that had brought him down there, I think it was the first time he had ever been. They asked him, said, what happened in there? He said, some old man wouldn't pay me my bet. We bet him. He said, what old man? And he pointed, there was a little opening there. And he pointed, and Billy was standing there, and he said, You talking about that guy right there, Billy James? He said, yeah, that old man wouldn't pay me, and his buddy whooped his butt. He, he told him, he said, that's the most honest man down here. Said, don't you ever say that he done something like that. So the boy wound up getting, Billy slapped him in the head with a Pepsi, and his own buddy whooped his butt for calling Billy a liar.
That's pretty funny. So
I was just,
Noah says that he thinks that Billy told him that it was 196,000 pesos.
okay.
Now 196,000 Filipino pesos today is roughly 3,300 bucks. Now, if you go back to the late 60s or 70s, $3,300 is a lot more money than what it is today.
Yeah, it was probably more than that. I want to say it was like so many million pesos that was because they were talking about the whole
The whole pot.
yeah, the whole crowd that bet on that fight. You know, over there they got people that takes the bets,
Oh yeah,
stand around it, and I guess that it was so much gambling going on that they kind of added it up or figured it.
oh, that's the main
But
reason they do it over there.
yeah, I think it was so many million pesos that was
Like
bet on that.
they've got it over there now where you can actually watch it live and do it online.
Right.
They'll
Yeah.
actually, there's a company that I'll just say that I know the person that has a company that's based
Right.
out of another country that is going to be there filming, and he runs the online portion as well. And
Right.
they do it in dollars, Bitcoin, pesos, whatever you've got that you want to put in, you put in, and win, lose, or draw, what happens, happens.
Yeah,
It's a huge thing.
I've seen those sites where you used to go on there. I think like $50 was the minimum bet
Mm-hmm.
that you could make, and I don't know what that is in pesos, but in American dollars, I think $50 was and
Yeah,
then
they do a lot over there in American dollars too.
I think they've kind of made it where you can't do it that way anymore or something. I don't know, but it was Billy was kind of like when he'd handle them roosters and be around them and stuff. He was real smooth. He was a really good handler back, in his younger days. He was a real good pitter.
Now Noah said that 196,000 pesos, that was just
Mm.
jumper's bet on their rooster.
Yeah, now that could have been.
So that'd be about. But man, could you imagine tossing down $3,500 back in the 70s? You could just about buy a car with that.
Yeah, well, you could.
A new one or a fairly new. I ain't talking about something, a Mercedes or nothing like that, but you go to the Chevrolet dealership and buy a vehicle for $3,500, and that's
Yeah,
the money he threw down on that rooster.
yeah. He must have been a bad boy because, like I say, they said they cut a tail feather, and that was it. There's been several of them through the years. That was another thing. A lot of people had them chickens, and you didn't know about it, or we didn't.
Oh
You
man,
know, people had got them from Billy, and well, it's like I started back last year. Well, year before last now, but I couldn't find the Kelsos like I couldn't find what I wanted.
right?
Well, Noah let me have some Hatch chicken. I had 2 roosters and 2 hens, and I bred them and hatched off some, and I think I wound up with like 13 roosters, which a dog come through and killed all of them. Well, the next year, last year when I started, I was on Facebook one day, and a guy got on there and he said, I'm trying to find some eggs or something for my kids. And I just happened to be on the site, and he lived about 50 miles from me. So I told him, I said, I don't know, I think it was 3 roosters running around out here in the yard. They was Kelsos.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, these guys love to sell you anything. I said, if you want something for your kids, just come get them. And I let them have it. And I said, I got a buddy wanting to get rid of some hens, which was Philip. Well, long story short, his wife and his sister came to get them, and they got the roosters from me, and then they went up Phillips, and he gave them a hatch roosters, and I don't know, a couple of hatch Kelso hens, and he gave him one pure Kelso hen, and which they were kin to mine.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, he bred them and he raised some. And last year I was looking for something to breed. He let me have 5 pullets back. And a friend of mine had had a rooster that he had raised some Kelsos and Billies. So I got a rooster from him and I bred them together, and that's what I raised. That's what the stags are that I got. Well,
Okay.
getting on Facebook and looking around, I seen a guy on there one day who was holding a rooster, and he said Billy James Kelso. Well, I get to talking to him, and a guy I used to work with, I had took him to Billy's in the 90s, and his stepson had wanted some chickens, and anyway, he buys them, takes them back to Kentucky. Well, this guy was that I met on Facebook was friends with that boy, and he'd let him have a Kelso rooster. So he wouldn't let him have no hens. So him and his other buddy, he knew where Billy lived. They drive down here, and he gets a couple of hens to go with his rooster. I'm on Facebook looking. Long story short, he sends me a rooster to breed this year, and 2 pullets. So I got the ones from Philip that his daughter let me get. I got a trio from that guy, and I got the rooster and hens that I bred last year. So that's kind of how I got them back. Is I found people that had, which I knew some people that the people that I know right now that have them is Billy Vaughn, the guy got my sent me the rooster, the one I told you about from Kentucky.
Yeah.
Noah Rickards got them. Jay Russ, uh, not Jay Russell. Jay Rick. I can't think of his last name. Noah put Jay's name on there. Anyway, he's got them, and I don't know who else would. I'm sure some other people's got them, but those are the ones that I know of that has them. That are they're really the old Kelso that Billy had.
Now, what area was Billy from?
Northwest Alabama, up toward
Like the
around,
Shoals area?
yeah, Tuscumbia, Alabama. He lived up on what we call the mountain, not far from where Noah lives. Jay Riddle. That's who it is. He's got them.
Yeah, that's what Noah just said. Riddle.
Yeah, I seen it on there. And like I say, there may be a bunch of other people got them that I just don't know about. I don't, I don't know. Uh, they're not world beaters. They just has always been my favorite chicken. And used to, I'd go to Billy's and get me a Kelso rooster and some hatch hens, and I'd just raise off them. I never did think about maintaining a bloodline. You know what I'm saying? I didn't. But now that he's passed, I guess somebody's. My goal is to try to get them in the hands of people, and that way, like later on, if I need a rooster or whoever, I can go to Noah or go to Jay or whoever.
Yep, gotta find somebody you can trust. Have a. I call it a
Right.
co-op of breeders.
Yeah.
You got a couple people that trust each other, and they keep a line clean. They line breed it true, and take really good care of it, and work with it to maintain what whoever made that bird famous. Maintain their hard work.
Yeah. Hey, I got something I want to do before I get off here. I want to tell some people. Uh, I don't get around too good no more. My back's all messed up. And when I started back in this, I had some buddies of mine that really helped me out. One of them was Sean Hennigan, and the other one is Will Higgins. They came and uh, built that fort I got down there, that chicken compound, I call it. You know, I sent you some pictures of it.
Yep.
They built all that for me. And my buddy in Mississippi, Jonathan King, he drove 3 hours down here. He knew I was trying to put these pens together out here, and he came and helped me. He done more in 2 days than I did in 2 months. Anyway, he helped me get all that done. Uh, Noah Rickards helped me out a lot. He's helped me hatch my eggs, and my wife and my son has helped me more than anybody. And Lord knows she needs a prize for putting up with me, because
I bet.
I ain't the best in the world at acting right.
When I first got back into chickens few years back, I told my wife, I said, just get some chickens, have some eggs. She said, no roosters. I just laughed and I said, okay, dear. Nah, I couldn't tell you how many roosters I have now. Well, there's Jeff. Jeff got a chance to pop in. How
I
are you
seen
doing?
something come up on that screen. I didn't know. At first, I didn't know what it was, and I seen him. He's over there eating Porky Pig.
Yeah, buddy.
I
Nothing
seen
like
that
Lechon.
pig. I bet you that was good.
It was.
So, Jeff,
It was
tell me
very good.
this. How many
Yeah.
lumpia have you had in the last 2 weeks?
I took a break this last week, but I've eaten close to 100 lumpia.
I could see that.
Yeah. They don't last long. Not with me.
Mm.
That was about the perfect size. That one I seen. It wasn't too big.
It was about 40 pounds. It
Yeah.
was about 35, 40 pounder. Yeah.
I've always wanted to cook one of them. I got a buddy that's got a pit. I just need to find one somewhere and get somebody to get it ready to cook. We could do the cooking, the cleaning's what I don't like too much.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. You start cooking for several people, that's a job. I've done it.
Before I came over here and got in the studio, I cooked dinner for my crew at my house, and there's 10 of us.
Yep, that can be a job there every night too.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you like to have to feed Jeff?
Huh?
I
How would
told
you like to
Ash,
feed me?
yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to feed me. I'm expensive date.
Would have to pour that Rapido on your feed.
That's right. I think I've had too much Rapido.
It was probably the oil. You mix too much oil in with it. Got the fat content too high.
Yeah.
Get you plenty of that lysine in you, and it'll make it all come out while you sleep.
Hey, has anybody got any questions they want to?
Yeah, I was gonna say we got about 12 more minutes. If anybody's got any questions they want to throw out in the chat for either Dougie or Jeff,
I'm sure I've
feel free to shoot it out.
I'm sure I've hacked this story up pretty good. I love to talk. I just about half the time can't nobody understand what I'm saying.
Well, from what I've heard, your microphone's on point tonight.
Yep.
Good.
He sounds good.
Let's see. This person, they didn't say who the question was for, so we'll let either one of y'all answer. Is there a preferred time to breed game fowl? And at what age is the best age to breed?
That depends on if you want to get in the cold and feed them baby chickens or not. You can do it. You know, after they get through with the molt, you can get them to start laying anytime you want to, pretty from December to, well, they'll lay in November.
I was going to say, I've got some 2-month-old chicks still in the pen with the mama that I didn't think she really was broody.
Yep.
And then when I noticed that she was broody, like, well, we'll see what happens. And yeah, they all.
I try to hatch all mine in April.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I do is because the weather's warmer.
Makes it easier.
I get around a lot better when the weather's warmer. Now, when I could get around, I'd start in March. I've never been one to hatch them real early, but a lot of people do start in December, January, February, and they'll grow off big and nice if you do it that time of year. But you can do it all the way to July, August.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you this from experience. You can hatch out 12 months out of the year. Yep. Me personally, I like to hatch out to where I have a chick in the wintertime because it's a more hardy bird. Yep. And there's less bacteria growing on the ground when it's cold.
Yeah.
So Dwayne wants to know, you said something earlier about the white Kelso and the speckles coming out. Dwayne's got a question about that. How did all that happen?
Well, Billy had a stag that it was red. It was solid red, just like any of the others when it was a stag. When it molted that year, it molted solid white. It didn't. It went from red to white. And I've heard they had white claret or something in them before, through the years. But he actually had one to come solid white. And he bred it. And he had spangled chickens everywhere. But now that chicken was solid red as a stag.
Yeah.
It wasn't spangled. It wasn't. I think when it molted the next time, it actually came kind of spangled looking. But it just was something that happened when it molted. It was red when it went in the molt. When all its feathers growed back, they growed back white.
I got another question for you, Doug. has Johnny Jumper and Billy James Kelso, or Doug has Johnny Jumper and Billy James Kelso?
Yeah,
That's what you have?
that's where they started.
Yeah.
You know, the Kelso hens came from Cecil Davis, and the original rooster came from Jumper and Ray Price.
Right.
Ray Jumper wouldn't let them have a rooster back then. He wouldn't sell them one. He didn't. And they went to a show one time, and Ray Price asked them, did they ever get one of the Kelso roosters? And they said, no, Johnny Fay won't let us have one. So they watched them that day, and they picked one of those out, and Price give it to them.
Okay. Was the spangled ones as good as the red ones?
I don't think when he bred he never did. He always bred them red. That just happened one time.
Okay.
You know, where the stag molted out white.
Yeah.
He didn't have like a white line and a red line. 90% of them become peacocked and white-legged, and they're usually a dark red. And they'll have a white leg with black spurs usually. Not all of them, but and they kind of look like a cobra.
That's cool.
Their neck feathers are kind of tied around their neck, and they're kind of long. They're kind of long necked. Not all of them, but
Frederick was wondering if the Billy James interview from Keith Mays, if anyone had that video around. Do you have that video, Boogie?
I've got it.
If you'll get that to me, if we could, I don't know if you could share it with me somehow. We'll figure it out. I'll get it posted. I think that would be pretty nice to see.
Yeah, they're somewhere, and he's asking Billy, different questions about his chickens, and I'd have to find it, because my wife's the best in the world at hiding anything. She calls it she's putting it up, but she's actually hiding it, because a lot of times you don't see it for a couple of years after she moves it.
See, Impact Game Farm says a pick of Billy Ray James Kelso, love him. Dougie's got his sister.
Yeah, that was the guy I told you was wanting chickens for his kids.
Yep.
And it's kind of funny. Philip, when that guy's wife came to get chickens from Philip thought me and him had been buddies for years, that it was really close. Like I said, we just met on one of them game fowl pages or whatever, and Philip let him have a pure Kelso hen. And Philip was real stingy with them chickens. He didn't want nobody to have them.
I mean,
he was telling me later, he said, I let your buddy have one of them chickens, one of them Kelso hens. I said, who are you talking about? He said, the one that, his wife and her sister came and got them chickens. He said, y'all real good friends, ain't you? I said, yeah, I've known him about 2 weeks. He said, what? I said, yeah. I said, I met him on Facebook. Of course, we've got to be good friends, That's been a couple of years ago.
Right.
And he is having a fit. He said, I give him one of them pure Kelso hens. I said, well, what do you want me to do about it? Of course, I wasn't even into chickens. I'd go up Phillips and trim his chickens for him every year. Oh, he was pacing around, snorting and carrying on because he'd let one of them Kelsos get out that he didn't want nobody to have.
I saw that contraption that you got made up to trim on. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it worked good. I trimmed 2 chickens with it, and they both like to bled to death. Oh,
I saw a post about that earlier today in a group. What was the best thing to use? And Dwayne said to go to Lowe's and get some Klein scissors. And I'll say them electrician shears, those things are really sharp. They do they work good, or you can get some surgical scissors off of Amazon. That works good too.
I bought a pair of scissors that when you put them on there and squeeze down, you better have them where you want them because you'll cut their head off.
Yeah.
I mean, they're sharp. And then I've got a littler pair that's kind of curved. And you put that clamp I got on their comb, and they're just right there where you can. I got a pair of whatever them little clamps are they use in an operating room. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll clamp their wattles and pull them out and cut them, and then their earlobes, I clamp them and pull them out away from their head and trim those with the little curved blade scissors. And then when I get to their cone, I just set it up there. It don't matter if it's a straight comb or a P-combed, or when you squeeze down on these scissors, it just cuts it off. I mean,
make it a no comb.
Yep.
Well,
and my dogs I enjoyed it. I hope everybody else did.
I enjoyed it too.
I mean, I ain't much to listen to, but like they used to tell me, I ain't much, but I'm all you got.
Hey, Dougie, I'm going to tell you right now, you can go back and look. I saw quite a few people in the comments talking about how it was a really cool interview and they really enjoyed hearing about it. So
well, I'm glad they did.
Till next time, everyone, we appreciate it. Y'all have a good evening.
Bye.